Usually, when they explain this topic, they'll show you this conversion ladder, and it's fine for them to show it to you. But it's important that you not only know how to use it, but also really understand why we can build it this way. So in this video, I'm not just going to teach you how to solve exercises using the conversion ladder, but I'm also going to show you how we can build it, and also why we have to set it up this way and not any other way. So please, if you really want to learn this topic from scratch, it's important that you watch the whole video. So, without further ado, let's get started. Look, before I put up the conversion ladder for you, I'm going to draw a square that measures 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. Let's consider that each of these little squares is 1 centimeter, so it's going to measure 10 little squares by 10 little squares. Alright, I'll draw it first. So we're going to add the measurements. This square has a base of 10 centimeters and a height of 10 centimeters. Now please start thinking about what the area is. Well, start calculating the area of this square. Well, in this case, we already know that the area of a square is calculated by multiplying the length of the base by the length of the height. Or we can think of it as side times side, or side squared, which is the same thing, right? In the end, either way, to calculate the area of the square, I have to multiply 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. Let's do the multiplication to calculate the area of my square. So, 10 times 10 equals 100. And centimeter times centimeter, well, that will be square centimeters. Done. The area of this square is equal to 100 square centimeters. There's no doubt about that, right? Now think about the following. 10 centimeters, what is that equivalent to? But for example, in decimeters. What is 10 centimeters in decimeters? Very good. It's equal to 1 decimeter, right? 1 decimeter is 10 centimeters. So, in this case, instead of writing 10 centimeters, how about we write this length in decimeters now? So, I'm going to say that here we have 1 decimeter. So over here, there will also be 1 decimeter, right? Now let's do exactly the same thing. Let's calculate the area of this square, but now using the new measurements we have, which in the end are equivalent measurements, right? In this case, I have that the area is going to be equal to 1 decimeter times 1 decimeter. We do the operation, and I get that the area is equal to 1 times 1, which is equal to 1. And decimeter times decimeter gives me square decimeters. I want you to notice something, because this is exactly where we're going to start. Sorry, where we're going to start from. Look, we had agreed that the area of this square was 100 square centimeters when we had the units in centimeters. But then we did the same. We did the calculation, and it turned out that the area now came out to 1 square decimeter. What does that mean? Well, it means that 100 square centimeters will be equal to 1 square decimeter. Therefore, we can already write that down. Let's then write that 100 square centimeters is equal to 1 square decimeter. Done. What I have here will already help me get to something that is extremely important. But before getting to that, I'm going to give one more example. Now, let's erase all the information. All right, I'm just going to copy this that I have here and erase everything else, because now I'm going to give my square some different measurements. Okay, just so we don't forget what we've done so far, I'm going to copy it over here. We agreed that 100 square centimeters is 1 square decimeter. And now, let's erase what's over here. Now imagine that each of these pieces is a decimeter. So this is a decimeter, a decimeter, a decimeter, a decimeter, and so on. So in total, I will have 10 decimeters. Now here, it's the same. This is a decimeter, and so on. So here I will have 10 decimeters. Let's do exactly the same thing. Let's calculate the area of this new square. In this case, then we get that the area is equal to 10 decimeters, which is the length of the base, times another 10 decimeters. Decimeters, which is the height of the square. We calculate the area, so I get 10 times 10, which is equal to 100. And decimeter times decimeter? Well, that will be a square decimeter, right? Now, as we said, each section here was 1 decimeter, and so on. Well, each little piece is 1 decimeter. which is the same as 10 centimeters, 10 centimeters, 10 centimeters, and so on. So that means that here in total, since we have 10 decimeters, there will be 1 meter, right? 1 meter is the same as 10 decimeters, or the same as 100 centimeters. Do we agree? I mean, if I think about it in centimeters, here there would be 100. Sorry, 10 centimeters. Here are another 10 centimeters. Here are another 10 centimeters. Well, in total there will be 100 centimeters, but 100 centimeters is 1 meter. Therefore, instead of putting these 10 decimeters, how about we put 1 meter? So let's see. Let's put its equivalent then, which would be 1 meter and 1 meter. Now, let's calculate the area, but this time with the new units we have. In this case, then the area would have to be 1 meter by 1 meter. So, again, base times height, right? Come on, 1 times 1 equals 1, and meter times meter equals square meter. I want you to see what we're getting to. We're getting to something very similar to what we just did, right? In this case, I'm saying then that this is equivalent to this, right? Therefore, I can write that 100 what? Square decimeters, I mean, 100 of these is equal to, or well, is equivalent in this case to 1 square meter. All right. Over here we have another equality now. I'm only going to keep these two, well, this and this one I have here in red because I need us to observe something. I want you to see that this one and this one basically look alike, right? Look, here we have 100 of something equals 1 of the other. And also over here, 100 of something equals 1 of the other. So let's see. Now let's erase our square. We just needed this one to see these equalities, and I'm also going to erase the calculations because now I'm going to focus on these two. Let me copy them over here. I want you to notice the following. So if I want to convert from square centimeters to square decimeters, what I would have to do is divide, right? By how much? Well, in this case, by 100. So, if I want to convert from here to here, what I have to do is divide by 100. Now, if I want to go from or convert from square decimeters to square centimeters, what I would have to do in this case is multiply. By how much? Well, also by 100, right? Look, 1 times 100 gives me 100. And here 100 divided by 100 gives me 1. It's the same here, right? If I want to convert from square decimeters to square meters, then what I would have to do is divide. By how much? Well, by 100. Since 100 divided by 100 gives me 1. And if I want to convert from square meters to square decimeters, what I would have to do is multiply, right? But by how much? Well, by 100, right? And look, then it would end up like this. Now, you guys, I told you at the beginning of the video, you've probably seen a conversion ladder. This conversion ladder actually comes from everything I just mentioned to you. Here we can clearly see why sometimes we have to multiply by 100 and then why we have to divide by 100. So what we're going to do next is start building our ladder. There we go. We already have our ladder here. Now, here on the first step, we're going to put the most common unit, which in this case is millimeters, just like this. Okay? After millimeters, which ones come next? Very good. Centimeters come next, so we put them over here. After centimeters come decimeters, right? So let's put them. On the next step, we'll place the meters. Next, the decameters, which we will put like this. Decameter. Next comes a unit that's not very common, called hectometers. And finally, we'll put kilometers. Let me just check if it's visible. It's perfectly visible, right? There it is. Now we have all of these. Now we need units of area. In this case, we're going to add squared. Squared, squared. Well, like that for all of them. For example, here it will be square decameters, over here square hectometers, and over here square kilometers. And well, the same with all the others, right? Now let's observe. This is where it gets interesting. Let's look at what we've come to and let's put it down here. Notice, for example, here we found that 100 square centimeters is 1 square decimeter. And look, to go from square centimeters to square decimeters, we were dividing by 100, right? Therefore, let's look for the square centimeters. We have them over here. Let me just mark them and let's look for the decimeters. How many squares do we have here? So, if I want to go from square centimeters to square decimeters, I have to divide by 100. Therefore, I want you to see that if I want to go from this step to this step, I have to divide by 100. Right? So let's do this. Let me put a little arrow like this, and let's write divided by 100 here. That's what I have to do, right? Here, we have it from here to here. Divide by 100. Now I want you to see what I have to do if I want to convert from square decimeters to square centimeters. Well, I'm going to multiply by 100. So look, from here to here, I multiply by 100. That is, from this step to this step, or going down a step, I would have to multiply by 100. Therefore, let's express it like this. Look, from here to here, I'm going to multiply by 100, right? Right? Let's see. Let's check if what we observed here also matches with this. In fact, it has to, right? Because we had already seen where it comes from. But anyway, let's put it here on our ladder. Come on, what do we get? If we want to convert from square decimeters to square meters, we have to divide by 100, right? So let's locate the square decimeters and square meters. Here they are, and here they are. So come on, from square decimeters to square meters, I divide by 100. So, from here to here, I'm going to divide by 100. Therefore, I'm going to do something very similar. From here to here, we're going to have to divide by 100. See? It was exactly the same, right? Now, if I want to go from square meters to square decimeters, I multiply by 100. Look, from square meters to square decimeters, what do? I multiply by 100. So in this case, if I want to go from this step to this step, let me write it down. I'm going to multiply by 100. Done. This same idea that I just wrote here, I need to replicate it for all the steps. So look, if to go from here to here, I had to divide by 100. Then from here to here, I also had to divide by 100. So what would we expect? Well, the same thing here, right? If I want to go from here to here, I would also have to divide by 100. And if I wanted to go from here to here, then I would also have to divide by 100. And well, this way we can complete the table. I don't think it's going to fit very well here, right? You won't be able to see it. Well, sort of. I'm going to put it here. A little squeezed in, but you can still see it. Also here, divided by 100. You see it, right? Let me see. Well, you can barely see it. Okay, and now going down, it's the same, right? Look, when we're going down a step, we're actually multiplying by 100. Even though it might seem a bit unintuitive, right? But when I go up, I divide by 100. And when I go down, I multiply by 100. So let's see. Let's put the next step over here, so we can complete our table. Well, we're going to repeat this on every step. And the idea is exactly the same, okay? I mean, everything comes from what I showed you at the beginning. So, let's see. I can remove this now and finish my ladder. There we go. Now we have the complete ladder. Now I'm going to show you how to use it. For that, I'm going to solve about 3 or 4 exercises, and then I'll leave one as homework for you. In the first exercise, we're going to convert 7 square decameters. The first thing we have to do is locate the units. In this case then, we're going to look for the square decameters. And let me put a green mark on it so we don't forget. And over here, we have the square meters. So here they are. Ready? Now, what do we have to do? It's very simple. Since we have to convert from square decameters to square meters, I want you to notice that we have to go down. So when we went down, look at the direction of the arrow. When we went down, we had to multiply by 100, right? So the amount of square decameters, which in this case is 7, we have to multiply by 100. So that the operation to convert to square meters would be 7 square decameters. In this case, I'm only going to write the 7 and we're going to multiply it. Why? By 100. Right? Because I insist I'm going down one step. And how much is 7 times 100? Well, that's 700. In this case, it will already be in square meters. And guess what? We're done. The answer is 700 square meters. So in 7 square decameters, there will be 700 square meters. There you go, we're done. Easy, right? Let's move on to another exercise. In exercise number 2, we're going to convert 8,000 square millimeters to square centimeters. So once again, With another color, let's highlight the two units we want to relate. In this case, they are square millimeters and square centimeters. So, since I want to convert from square millimeters to square centimeters, I want you to notice that now I'm going up a step, and we said that when we go up a step, what do? We divide by 100. Therefore, I have to divide the amount of square millimeters by 100 in order to get to square centimeters, right? So let's do that. Therefore, the operation would have to be 8,000. Divided by what? Well, by 100, because we're just going up one step. All right, let's do the math. 8,000 divided by 100? Well, that's simple, right? Let me use another color here so I can cancel out a 0 with a 0, a 0 with a 0. And then I would just have 80 divided by 1, and 80 divided by 1 is equal to 80, right? So the answer would be 80 in square centimeters. What does that mean? It means that in 8,000 square millimeters, we have 80 square centimeters. That's it. We're done. Let's go with another one. In exercise number 3, we have 1.57 square kilometers that we need to convert to square meters. Again, we're going to put a mark on the square kilometers and another one on the square meters over here. Careful. In this case, they are not two consecutive steps, so pay close attention to what we have to do. I want you to see that if I want to convert from square kilometers up here down to square meters, I have to go down. And as I go down, I multiply by 100 each time. So I would really have to multiply the amount of square kilometers, which in this case is 1.57 first by 100, then again by 100, and then again by 100 to get to square meters. So, what operation would that leave me with? 1.57 times, 100 times, 100 and times 100, and that would give me the result in square meters, right? Let's do the calculation. 1.57 times 100, I'm here now. Then again, times 100, I'm here now. And finally again, times 100. I'm already here in square meters. All right, let's do the calculation. Look, to make this calculation super easy, I recommend you do the following. Since here, we're always going to multiply by 100, we can do it like this. Look, we write a 1, and now we're going to count all the zeros there are. Here there are 2. Plus 2 is 4, and plus 2 is 6, so we put them. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 and 6, and that's it. So this is the operation I have to solve. And it's simple, right? To be able to multiply 1.57 by this number, we would have to move this decimal point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 spaces. In the spaces where we don't have anything, we put zeros. So I would have 1. Then we write 57. Here I've already moved 2 spaces, and now we're going to put 4 zeros. Right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the result of this operation will be exactly this. What number is it? It would be, let's see, I'll separate it. 1,570,000, right? Now what units does it have? Well, they're square meters. Therefore, we already know that in 1.57 square kilometers, we have a total of 1,570,000 square meters. Now, this is important here. If you say, oh, I didn't really understand the part where he multiplied. Well, just do the multiplication, okay? You can do it by hand, or you can use a calculator. Since we're just multiplying by numbers ending in 0, the operation is very simple. Now let's try the last one, which will be a bit harder. In exercise number 4, we have 750,300 square centimeters, and we need to convert them to square hectometers. So once again, we're going to put a dot on the square centimeters, and we look for the square hectometers, which are over here. In this case, since we have to go from square centimeters to square hectometers, we have to keep dividing by 100, right? Until we get all the way up here. So, let's do it. In this case, I recommend that you write it as a fraction. Or, if not, do the calculation step by step. But look, if we write it as a fraction, it's actually pretty simple. What do I mean by that? Look, we're going to write 750,300, and now we're going to divide all of this by the following. Since I'm starting from square centimeters, I have to divide by 100 first to get to square decimeters, right? So we're going to put a 100 on the bottom. I'm going to multiply this, since it's in the denominator, by 100 again. Why is that? Well, because I'm actually dividing this number, the one in the numerator, by 100. That's why I'm multiplying by 100 on the bottom. Okay, so I've already done 100 here. Or rather, divided by 100, and then again by 100. So I put another 100 in the denominator. And finally, let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, and then 4, right? So there are 4 factors of 100 in total in the denominator. So this would be the operation I end up with. Now how can we do it? Well, it's very simple. Again, we're going to write 750,300, and now in the denominator, we said we're going to put a 1 and count the zeros. 2, 4, 6, and 8. So let's add them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There they are. Now we can start canceling, right? Remove 1 0 from the top, then 1 from the bottom, alternating each time. Pair this one with this one and continue. Now I can't cancel any more zeros. So the operation I'm left with is 7,503, which would be a total of 7,503, right? And this is divided by what? Well, by 1,000. And well, this is already simple, right? Because 7,503 divided by 1,000, you'll agree with me, is the same as 7.503. And in this case, the units will now be square hectometers. There you go. Now we know that in 750,300,000 square centimeters, there are 7.503 square hectometers. Homework. Convert 42 square decameters to square decimeters. Please, take your time solving it, and when you have the answer, put it down here in the comments. I'll be giving a heart to the people who get it right. And well, that's all for today.
Si les gustó este video, por favor, suscríbanse al canal.
And I'm also going to ask you to share it with someone you think might find it useful. See you next time. Take care and be good. Bye.